Consider supporting this channel for as little as $5 a month on Patreon. You can also commission future content for this game. Link is in the description. You can also send a one-time donation of any amount to this channel using PayPal. Link is in the description. The Prices Creek Front Range Lighthouse is a dilapidated, abandoned, Civil War-era brick lighthouse located in Southport, North Carolina, in the Cape Fear River. This is one of many lighthouses that was funded by the Confederate government to help guide ships up the Cape Fear River and into the town of Wilmington, North Carolina, which had a very famous seaport at the time. I initially wanted the railroad to go past the lighthouse, but seeing as it's so small, you still will barely be able to see it from that distance. Now, here's how range lighthouses work. There is a shorter lighthouse called the front range in the front, and there's a taller one called the rear range in the back. When you can draw a straight vertical line between the top light and the bottom light, it means that your ship is properly aligned for a safe passage down a waterway. If one of the lights were to veer off toward the left or towards the right, that means your ship is not facing the right way to go safely down the channel, and as a result, you have to change your steering until you can see the top light on top of the bottom light. The rear range light, which no longer exists, was a lantern room located on top of a brick keeper's house. There is no night animation for this lighthouse because it was deactivated shortly after the Civil War. I made a detailed interior of the lighthouse, but unfortunately, the camera is too big to fit inside it. During the American Civil War, the rear range lighthouse was used as a signal station to improve communications between Fort Caswell and Fort Fisher. The front range lighthouse was used to guide Confederate blockade runners past Union ships that were being stationed offshore. During the first few battles of the Civil War, the daughter of the lighthouse keeper actually climbed to the top floor of the lighthouse in order to watch the battle. Apparently, back then, people didn't realize that guns and cannons were dangerous. While the keeper's daughter was not harmed in the battles, the lighthouse did not fare so well. It received heavy shell damage from guns being fired from Fort Caswell. After the Union Army took full control of the coast, the Confederates had to flee inland, and when they did, rather than allowing the Union Army to take control of the lighthouses, they instead decided to burn down every single lighthouse on the Cape Fear River. The Prices Creek Range lighthouses were the only two that survived. The Prices Creek Range lighthouses were never repaired after the Civil War because the port of Wilmington was no longer economically viable and wasn't receiving anywhere near as many ships as it was receiving in its heyday. So there was no longer a reason for these lighthouses to exist. The rear range lighthouse received heavy storm damage, and as a result, it was later demolished. The bricks were later hauled away by locals to be used for their own personal projects. The front range lighthouse still stands but is slowly collapsing. The son of the last keeper of this lighthouse actually tried to visit it at some point, but the rotten stairway caved in underneath him and he fell to his death. The Prices Creek Front Range Lighthouse is located on land that is privately owned by the Archer Daniels Midland citric acid plant, which in the 1990s pled guilty to artificially inflating the price of citric acid, which made products such as soda and orange juice more expensive and negatively affected consumers. Sadly, they have no plans to restore the lighthouse, so it'll likely collapse into the river at some point.